So, the lean startup. Question number one, I want to ask everybody in the chat. How much did you invest when you first started your company? How
Yeah,
much?
hurry. Put it in the chat so we can actually engage
One
and tell
dollar?
you, yeah, tell
One
you
rice?
what's going on. Yeah.
I
How much
started
do
my
you
restaurant.
invest when starting your company? It may not be money, okay? It may be something else. How much time have you spent on starting your company? We want to just have a little thoughts. 1 million. Wow. That is a lot. That
That
is a
is
lot.
really a lot. That is a lot.
Your own money or someone else's money?
Good question.
Uh, 3 years.
Three
3 years.
years.
It's a long time, man. It's a long time.
Yeah, it is. If you pass 3 years and you're still alive, which means that you are moving it the right way. I
Yeah.
think there was a previous CEO of Media Prima. I'm not going to say which one. He mentioned this before. If your company is surviving after 3 years, you are definitely hitting something and it's working one way or another. If the company is not doing well within the first 3 years and things is going downhill, something along the way is wrong, and something needs to be fixed.
Yep.
Wow, Ben Chiao, 1 million of his own money for 3 years. Congratulations, you're onto something. And with that big amount of money, it seems like you are going all in. Is that it, or you really have tons of cash stacked one side? Because to me, 1 million is a big amount, really.
Yes, it's very big. Some people only dream to actually have that money, yet alone invest that much on his or her business.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now let's talk about minimizing casualty. All right. So let's go. So today's core of Money Magnet show is, I remember the last week we showed like three
Mhm.
different, but in fact we actually have like five part for
Current
Money
business.
Magnet. Today we are talking about the tech startup part of it. Mostly tech startup. It can actually work for digital marketing, but and content creation also. But today we're going to be focusing more towards the tech startup. For digital marketing, there is a show that I plan to actually talk about is how to use the lean startup method for Facebook advertising. It's totally relevant to you guys if you guys are marketers. I think most of the people in 100x community, and what's relevant to most people is they are some sort of in marketing, business, sales, and whatnot. So that would be very relevant. But today is especially for those techie and those people who wants to do a tech startup, build $1 billion company in one day. Think about the Facebook next app and stuff like that. Okay. Right. So today's show, by the end of today's show, I will do whatever I have in my power that you guys will understand the number one thing that makes your startup succeed. And no, it's not about money, it's not about funding. All right. Number two is how to recognize mistakes, fix them very quickly before you run out of money. And number three, the physics framework of thinking that Elon Musk used to build $1 billion startups. Wow, most
Whoa.
people ask about testimonials. What I'm actually teaching isn't just theory, is actually very practical. And what is better than quoting Elon Musk, like at, was one the world's richest man. I think he's number two or number three right now.
Depends on
Whatever.
stock price.
Depends.
Depends on stock
Yeah.
price. Yeah.
It all depends whether he make announcement on Dogecoin. Then we'll see where he go up and down. Yeah. So let's talk about the number one thing that makes a startup succeed. Guys, can you guys guess a little bit about what that is? Is this is a
I
trick
think that
question?
layman terms, right? I personally would say money as well. Is it?
You would say
I'm not
money.
so sure.
Okay.
Money or
I
team
tell
or your
you,
team. I think it might
or
be
your
a
team.
team. What do you guys think? You guys put it in the chat. We'll see whether or not we are. Ben says
Team.
team actually. All right. Actually, I
Tell me
kind
to
of
press the next
agree with.
button.
I kind of agree with Ben actually. Yeah, team would be the one that makes your business succeed. And the right
The right
people,
people.
yes, team, right people, the right people, a group of right people makes the team works, and the team is what makes the business work. That's what I think. Well, maybe AD, you have something else that you wanted to show. Maybe it's not team, maybe it's not money. What is
Of
it?
course, I anticipated whatever the answer is that everybody will give, and the answer will always be, "You are wrong."
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Even I'm wrong as well. So yeah, please enlighten me.
okay, guys, this is a trick question because whatever the answer you give is definitely wrong. Okay, okay, let me
Ben
elaborate.
is
Okay,
having a laugh. Ah.
this thing about saying that you are wrong is the number one thing that makes a company succeed to survive is the acknowledgement that you yourself may be wrong for
Oh,
startups. All right. For entrepreneurs who built a product and said this is what the market wants, and die no matter what the market tells them, say this is what they want without making necessary changes because something within the business is not working. Maybe it's the team, maybe it's the sales process, or maybe it's the product itself. And if you think that you know more than the market, then the answer is you're wrong. As long as the entrepreneur can be brutally honest with themselves, maybe they suck, you see. Maybe the product actually sucks. Maybe the product, no matter how much you do, isn't targeting the right audience. If you can admit that and you can actually make the necessary changes before you run out of money, that's how you survive. All right.
okay.
I'll be going through a few testimonial, and it can be a bit, yeah, the Money Magnet show can be a little bit controversial. All right. So stay tuned. Let me explain a little bit or elaborate what I mean by this. Okay. You guys know these guys, right? Kodak and Nokia. You see?
Yeah.
We all know now.
Used to know.
Yes, Ben, the magic words pivot. Correct. You
Hey,
see,
actually,
what the
invite Ben sit with us and talk already. He knows
yeah,
already. He knows
invite
it.
him.
Yeah, lah, he knows it.
You see, Kodak and Nokia is at one point in time they were the market leaders, but they think that they know what the audience want, and there is a certain risk to this. You see, of course, I'm using case of companies that is failure, but and these are big companies, all right. But startup is all the more is it's even worse if you're a startup because you can only make so many mistakes before you go under. Before you run out of money, you either have to bootstrap it, get another job to sustain your company, or worst thing, everything just you lost years of your hard work and everything just disappear overnight, gone, everything. Right? So I like this company, maybe they run out, they make some losses, but they still make some profit. So in the end also, they don't really make much losses, right? But for startup, probably you lose your life investment all and everything. So
Yeah.
what happened with Kodak and Nokia? Let me tell you what actually happens here. And it might be controversial to some entrepreneurs that tells you to stick to their gut. Like I would like to mention his name. His name is Simon. Okay, is somebody I really respect, but at the same time, I kind of disagree with what he said about sticking to your guts on certain things or what your company represents or what your company stands for, because sometimes you have to make necessary changes, and if you don't, and the market tells you no, and you still fights the market and you think you as a company controls the market, then this is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for entrepreneurs, as long as we ourselves have the capacity to say, yeah, we it's not about me, okay? It's not about me and whether I'm right or whoever is right. It's about what the market says. Then you will have the ability to succeed even though everything goes against you. All right. So let's talk something a bit more controversial as well for companies that has worked. Okay. Airbnb. I remember the pitch for Airbnb when it first started. People say nobody is gonna rent a part of their house to some strangers. Hell, it's not gonna work, man. I'm not gonna let strangers into my house. I remember the pitch very clearly. And I thought to myself, yeah, I won't do it. And to be honest, I still won't do it. But was I right about that? You see, what the market says is it was launched during a time where everybody needed money. So during that time, people don't mind renting part of their house to strangers and make some couple of cash out of it. And did their business work? Yes. Airbnb is a unicorn now. Same as Grab, you see. Grab, when it first started, when I heard the business idea as a consumer, I say this is the best thing ever. I need to call a taxi. I just click a button and then they arrive at my house. I just go in. I can go anywhere. It's so convenient. But at the same time, I talked to a female friend of mine, and she said, "Are you crazy? Taxi is so dangerous right now. Right now, you are going into uncertified, unlicensed drivers who came from I don't know where to come to your house knowing your address and take you to somewhere else. Come on." If Grab were to pitch that way, I guarantee you most people say this will not work. All right. So it's not. It is logically, even for me, for most startup will say, yeah, it won't work, but that's not what the market needs. The pleasure that Grab gave or the benefit outweighs the negative. All right. It's the same thing as Alibaba, I would say, because when you buy things, of course there are still cases where there's a lot of fraud, products aren't genuine and stuff like that. But if you look at Alibaba or maybe Malaysian counterpart like Shopee, I think Shopee, right, is like the boss of Shopee is like Singapore's richest man. It's like it's worth about 20 billion USD right now. The reason why they succeed is because the market still buy things online. No matter what you say, there's a lot of fraud. People actually, you know, fake purchase. You will lose money online. Back in the days, right? If somebody were to pitch like you will buy something online and then they will give you fake things and they will just take your money and they don't give you a product, and it's very valid reason. I still remember
It happens
people.
right now as well. Some
Yeah,
people do that,
it's
but if you
still.
do it on Shopee, different story. Yeah,
Yes,
they may not be
but
able. They may not dare to do that.
they may not dare. But back in those days, even say if you have some counter security reason to make sure that the audience get return policy, make sure that they get the product before the company release payment. I still remember very clearly some people say they would never buy anything online, and now what happens, they buy every single day. Every single day they go to Shopee, they go buy things and stuff like that. So I still also remember that time when I was talking about mobile payment. I'm talking about like 5 6 years ago, where I say mobile payment I think is the future, because mobile payment is so convenient. You don't have to bring out your credit card and stuff like that. Still remember this entrepreneur. Sadly, is that he's part of my community itself. He said that mobile payment will never work because people could steal your phone and they could as easily access your wallet. You see,
Mm-mm.
so every phone becomes a wallet, becomes every phone becomes a target for people to steal. Hence, it's not safe. And I said, okay, maybe there is some security we can add in for mobile payment, maybe some code, or maybe we can use our fingerprint. This is what he said. Then everybody will be losing a finger and they will be losing a phone. That's what will happen. Well, is will did that happen? I'm not sure. Okay, I did not have. I'm not sure whether it happened, but yeah, there are people that actually talk about mobile payment doesn't work, and back then it kind of makes sense. But I do believe that mobile payment is like the future right now, and everywhere you can see that mobile payment is booming. If not, companies will adopt it. I think Ben Chia said something. Adapting market based on market data. No e-hailing ranked number one. Nearly died to Grab, worth more than Uber. Gojek worth more than Uber. Yep,
I guess
exactly.
it because in this case as well as like speed of execution, Uber is always in the so-called Europe market, and for them to do such a hyper local ads such as Grab always doing like Merdeka doing like even Grab, all of their ads or campaigns is normally very, very local, and they can execute way much faster than Uber because they have a team in Malaysia. The team knows intimately what Malaysian likes, so their ads are more relatable. So I guess that's
And
one of the
they
reason
also
why Uber says that,
they
you know
also
what,
expand like
uh,
Grab Food and Grab Pay is
yeah,
actually,
Grab Food, Grab Pay.
yeah, all the
Uh,
services that is actually add on to the users and stuff. Uh, but does it make sense, guys, when I tell you guys that Airbnb, Grab, Alibaba, and Grab Pay may or may not have succeed if I pitch it in that way, where most people say it won't, but the market tells otherwise. So there are times where we have the idea where some companies will or may not work as a startup. We really have to test the market, even if it means us being wrong, and even if it means very counterintuitive to begin with.
mm,
All right. So something that most entrepreneur needs to understand. It's not you, it's not about you, it's about the market. All right.
yeah.
And it's our job as entrepreneurs to mitigate those issues, because ultimately what we are doing is we are creating a great product, uh, with a great service through a great team to solve problems. All right. So it's gonna get another controversial topic again. It's about Steve Jobs, right? Rest in peace. I do respect this guy very much, but even him was wrong about something. You see, when Steve Jobs first launched the iPhone, where he says nobody wants a stylus, nobody wants plastic numbers, he was right. He was dead right about that. And everybody tells him that no, that's not how it works. It will not work. I pretty remember you go and check about all the comments, all the famous entrepreneurs that says to Steve Jobs, the iPhone will not work. Check out their comments. Steve Jobs was right, but he is one of those rare entrepreneurs that is very intuitive on what people wants based on his experience. It's all about user friendliness. It's all about removing a step. That's what
Mm.
Steve Jobs believed in, you see. And he was right about that. But then even he was wrong about something. Because Steve Jobs said no one would want to buy a phone with a big screen. But we know that's not true anymore. Because now everybody is buying phones with huge screen. It's way much more bigger than the iPhone when it first launched. You see? So if Steve Jobs were to continue doing the small phone, maybe his influential power is strong enough. But I don't think he would stay there. If he know the market is changing towards bigger phones, he would adapt. He would
Bigger
change.
screen right now is
Yes.
like, you see
Every
the
phones right
his
now, the
head
bigger
versus
is
my
better.
hand. Yeah, this is so much bigger than what he's holding right now.
Exactly. So Steve Jobs was right about something, and he was dead right. He revolutionized all the mobile phones and personal computer. He also was wrong about something. So what I'm trying to paint here is
Even the big
entrepreneurs need to
shots
know
also
what,
get wrong. Yeah.
yeah, even the big shots also get wrong. And also big multi-billion dollar companies where we thought would not work, like some like this, it did work. And well, let's talk about how to recognize and fix them very quickly before we run out of money. First things first is, as we talk about today's topic, is about the Lean Startup by Eric Rice. So the story about the Eric Rice is he's actually a CTO of a company. I kind of forget what I am. I can't remember the company name already. Yeah, but he as a CEO, what he did was he started creating a 3D avatar that you can use to chat with your friends, existing friends that you know. So they thought they had this wonderful idea. They created this product for for several months and almost a year, and then they launch it, and they say this is gonna be a $1 million company. What happened in the end? No one take up the product, even though their friends and family says this is the best idea ever. So the reason why he came up with this idea is he did tests, and he keep on perfecting adding features into the platforms and say, yeah, it's gonna work. We just one platform away, we are just one feature away, we're just adding more and more things. But fundamentally this isn't what the market wants, you see. As I mentioned here, is the lean startup is all about avoid waste of time and resources. And because they believe that that's the product that people want, then they spend several years perfecting it, and then in the end they have nothing to show for it because nobody wanted it.
Mm.
So how many of you in the chat actually go through this? Let me know. It takes a great deal of brutal honesty to tell yourself that actually, maybe this is a product, something that people don't want. However, he has a a good story at the end of the tunnel. They actually find out that you know people don't want to create 3D characters so that they can talk to their existing friends, but they are willing to create 3D characters to talk with strangers. The
Mm.
company was now worth about 50 million USD. So honestly, they hit something right there. But they wouldn't have known if they have stick with their gun and said, "No, I know more than what the market wants." They don't know. Because honestly, this thing I hear most entrepreneur also says, because Steve Jobs saying this, if I'm gonna ask the market or the customer what they want, they would say they want a faster horse. Not because what they actually want is like, they get to A to B faster, they want a car. But the thing is, dude, you're talking to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is highly intuitive. He knows exactly what people want. That's the reason why for a guy like him, he can ignore most people and still deliver, and he still can make it. It's a bet he's willing to take. Steve Jobs is the guy where the board of directors says no. He will say, "Don't worry." He will slam the table. "I use my money, you do it." And he proved everybody right. It's just the same Apple campaign. Nobody say that this Apple campaign thing different. It would never work. Steve Jobs said the exact same thing. He's the guy. He's that guy who would say he's the guy who put money in his mouth. Yeah, some might say he's arrogant, and quite frankly, I think he is. But he did change the world. You see, but for most people also, the more careful one. If you're not Steve Jobs and you don't have a crystal ball predicting what the market wants, it's better for you to understand exactly what people want from your product. Yeah. So entrepreneurship is about testing and learning. And there's usually a few ways, the conventional ways for most multi those billion-dollar companies, they usually can't afford to lose money. So what they usually do is they do a ton of market research, they create a solid strategy, and they deliver great product. Here's the thing about
TNGs lah, for
yeah,
example.
for
Yeah,
example,
they got
that
the
that
do mass produce soaps, so they have to do lots of research on what
yes,
type of soap
they can
that people
afford
likes.
to do the research. And also, even if one of the product flops, they still survive because they have many other income stream from all of their other product chain. So they can make mistakes, although we shouldn't, because somebody I think gonna get fired if they make mistakes. Okay. But startups, you don't have that luxury, you see. You can't just make mistakes left and right. You gotta understand what exactly people want. And it all starts with the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur needs to admit that yes, this is not what they think they want, but what the market actually wants. So it's all about doing continuous testing in the market. Even though you believe that this is the way to go, you gotta make your test. I'm gonna give you another example of this entrepreneur who stick to his gun, and he knows it's gonna work even though everybody says no. All right. It's it's also, yeah, it might sound counterintuitive, but yeah, we'll get to that later. And then once you know everything, you start build and you measure and you learn, because it's a never ending loop. Never get Entrepreneurs should never ever get arrogant, because the moment you get it, your competitors or your market will kill you in one way or another. All right. Okay.
What
So
you're
the
trying
leads,
to say is never be content as well, because at any
yes,
one point you may get wrong. You may get wrong along the way.
yes. You really need to humble yourself down to find out this exactly what the market wants before you do it. Okay, so the lean startup, there are basic steps. Number one is you create a basic description of what your company is. Then the next step is you create a high level plan of where you're going to take the company from A to B. All right, you can show it to people about this plan. The thing is, it's just a plan. And as what the Joker once says, nothing goes according to plan. Okay, For real, for reals. Being in the startup industry, I agree. I tell you, nothing goes according to plan. Like I just said just now, like Grab and Uber, Airbnb, things company you think will fail with didn't fail, and think company that you think won't fail actually end up failing. All right. So you have to identify critical assumption. Like for example, if you are wrong, you understand that you have wasted time and efforts. And if you are correct about something, you show a product or MVP, will they actually buy the product? Because some people say yes, they will support certain things, but when it comes to buying it, they don't. I'm just gonna say, some feminist movies, they say it's only for girls, it's not for men. Those are girls that empower women movement. But when it comes to actually showing up, will they buy the movie ticket? No. So it's like if somebody can get behind a movement doesn't mean that they will actually support the movement when you talk about will you give your money for this. So it's totally different. Behavior, not opinion. Okay. Practice is behavior, not opinion. Hi
Hmm.
Alfred. This is quite relevant also. Yeah, since we are all doing startup. Okay, let me tell you there's two kinds of MVPs, okay? There's the concierge MVP and the smokescreen MVP. My favorite actually is the smokescreen MVP. But let's get to that in a bit later. The concierge MVP was something done by Zappos. So the founder of Zappos, what they did is they wanted to know and they wanted to test the market, will somebody buy shoes online? Because the preconception about buying shoes is you need to have the right fit. Your shoes needs to fit onto your size. So in his belief is nobody will buy this.
Hmm.
But is he
Yep.
sure? Is he 100% sure? So he take and tested the market. All he did is just go around shoe store and he see shoes that he likes, he take picture over there and put it online. If people bought the shoes, he will go to the store and buy that shoes and send it over where and he delivers.
The
What he
oldest
did
form
was
of drop shipping.
yes, the oldest form of dropshipping. He verified the market. You see, he didn't even started his shoe store. Everything's invested millions of dollars. To create a shoe manufacturer and then in the end start selling and nobody wants to buy the shoes. He know a certain style of shoes people may like, but he wants to make sure that people will buy shoes online because the initial thought is nobody's gonna buy shoes that will not fit, and you can't try shoes that fit if you're online. Well, the business model proved to be successful. People actually do buy shoes online, even though I don't. Okay, but there are people that buy online, and again, it's not about me. It's not about opinion. It's about what the market says.
Could you
Now,
give us
this
more insight in what's the difference between concierge MVP and smokescreen
okay.
MVP?
Concierge is, in short, drop shipping. You do
Okay,
something and then you can actually create a product and you show people, say, hey, this is the product. Do you want this product? Yes. And then you go behind and then you create your own brand of the product and then you sell it as a fraud. You say that is the previous beta version, although that product is actually someone else's. Okay.
I
So
see.
a smokescreen MVP means pre-order. In other words, you have zero. You never created a product. You said that if I don't get more than 50 orders from these pre-orders, I'm never gonna make this product. When you create a course or anything online and you start using the smokescreen MVP, guys, please, please, please don't cheat people. When you take the money, if you don't intend to make the product, please return the money. It's not ethical. But a smokescreen MVP can also be very beneficial to use because you need to identify the market. Is this a need? So you create a product before you sell the product or you market the product before you even create the product. And then when your audience say yes, this is something that they want, they already pre-order, they already bank in money to you. You have all rights, the fundings and even the motivation to actually make a great product because you know that you're accountable to a group of people that already pre-order, gave you their credit card to buy something from you. But that's what makes smokescreen. It seems like it's there, but it's not there. You probably don't even have the product until you get payment. So that's the difference. Okay. But if you ask me, MVP is MVP, it's the same shit. You can create one core function of your app, of your business. You sell the idea. As long as money goes through, you know the market is there. The next question you gotta ask is whether market is big enough. But that's a story for another thing, another time. We are not talking about scaling. We are talking about startups right now. Okay. So once you build the product, you release and you measure. You check about customer reaction. It's important to have a baseline of metrics upfront because I know most entrepreneurs, including myself, we get too attached to our business and our products that
Yes,
even
yes.
though it seems like it's failing, you will pick up, logical reason in your head say, no, this is maybe it's not the season yet. Maybe I've not done enough marketing. Maybe it's, I have to improve this feature. We just one feature away. We hear it all too often, and I'm very guilty of that. All right. I defended the product as if it's my life. Okay. But like I said, we all have to understand that it's not about us and stuff. I mean, let me tell you also, there are cases where there's this entrepreneur, he defended his product, even the world is against him. All of his product was gonna go bankrupt, but he still held on. All right. And there are times where you have to help on to your business, stick to your gun, even if it means failing. All right. That's what being an entrepreneur means, you see. We all talk about a success story, but we don't talk quite often about the failures. But the failures of entrepreneurship is equivalent in value as the success stories. So, okay. And then after that, of course, you need to pivot or persevere. You need to tweak. And the only sign to make sure that it's a successful pivot is that your tuning of your product actually gives you much more productivity. Maybe people are buying more, people are commenting more on product, they love these features and stuff like that. That's the only way to know, not because you said you think that it works. So it's all about data, it's all about traction, it's all about measuring every single thing that you do. You can't track or measure anything that you don't collect. So data,
Indeed.
as you said, is
You
the
can't
by
track, you can't
is the
improve.
yeah, you can't track. Exactly. Okay, so this is the whole entire framework. All right. When you start having an idea, you start building, that's a leap of faith. This one is you can even the world is against you, you should still do it. I still encourage you to do it. All right, because it's not about me, you see. It's not about the entrepreneurs, it's what the market wants. As like I mentioned that when somebody started doing Grab Pay, there are people that says that it's never gonna work. Truth is, mobile payment is the future. From time to time, I do actually, kick them aside, say, see, I told you, mobile payment works. So yes, take the leap of faith. But once you create the MVP, here is where you gotta be brutally honest. Once you start measuring, what does the data say? What insights can you gather? Is it working? Is this a market problem, a marketing problem, or what? You gotta be very honest and brutally honest with yourself and your business. Once you learn from there, it's time to pivot or persevere. No entrepreneur create the one product for all. Trust me. Even Apple is like all of their products is like the exclusive or exclusive. It's all like the latest version and there's no other version better than theirs. They still create the next version. They still improve. Of course, it can be controversial as well. That they remove certain things apart, but that's what they believe in. Even though they believe that's innovative, my opinion is not really lah. But it still sells. The market still wants. As long as they change something, market wants. So say whatever you want with them, they are still the most valuable company in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, you can't argue with that. See, there are still Apple fanatics going all around that get pissed off and start blending Android phones because they love Apple so much. All right. Next, here's a framework on what you can do to test in your business, whether you are, funnel analysis, whether you are, doing split testing. There's many different kind of things you can do. You guys can screenshot or you guys can go to the businessmodelanalysis.com. I'm not going to spend too much time over here because, well, you guys can get it online and basically you guys know it's quite easy to build, measure, and learn. It's simple, but trust me, when emotions come into play, times, investment, money come into play, it's not very hard. It's very hard for us to part ways with our, something that we put our heart and soul and everything into the business. All right. So there's something from Bill Gross. I just did the research yesterday about why startup fail to verify what I say is true. Because for me is I thought that team is the most important thing. But on his research, he may be right or wrong because he's based on his research. I may be right or wrong because based on my research. But the thing is, I could say none of us is right or wrong because none of us sold anything to that people. All right. So for what he says is timing is very important in startups, even more than team and execution. That's a big shocker to me because I think team execution beats everything. But after seeing what he says from his data, I did a bit of research and find out. And what I find out is it could be true. It could be true because let me show you in the next slide what that is. All right, take a look at this. We all know Vine came out before TikTok, right? It's like few seconds video and stuff. Why did Vine fail while TikTok succeed? Or why did
Hmm.
Skype fail while Zoom succeed? Even if it means downloading a new app, doesn't make sense, right? It's like it doesn't make sense. Like most of the people already have Skype because they have a Microsoft account, so it's very easy to migrate to to Skype. But Zoom is a totally new platform altogether. Why would somebody want to download Zoom? Of course, you can say the user friendliness, everything is different, yada yada yada. But the core functions is already there, and it could be the timing as well, because these companies went 6 feet under so that the next company can arrive just at the right time to succeed. You see,
Yeah,
just
like
at the
they
right time.
said, Google was not the first, what we
Exactly.
call that,
Facebook was not the
search
first
engine.
social media
Yeah,
also.
Facebook also was not the first. Many that have went over it and then succeeded, helped the success of these companies coming in later.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to also say here is probably is not the product, probably is the timing. In Facebook case, probably the strategy is different because instead of going everybody, they target on universities. You see, and they added one key function inside relationship status, and it changes everything just like that. So we really gotta test and really have to find out every single little steps that we do whether or not we improve the company. But as volatile as the cryptocurrency market is, startup is probably more volatile because you never really know what's actually going to work. Something can work today and then fail the next day. Something can fail now and then few years later it succeed. With just a little tweak. That's it. Nobody really knows, but it is your job as an entrepreneur to test and test and test to find out and never be comfortable. Right? So let's talk about this famous entrepreneur. Since we're talking about how to build and then measure and stuff. This is one entrepreneur that I also truly respect, and he's the guy that stick to his gun even though the whole world is telling him that it won't work. You know, SpaceX, Tesla, both of them was trying to bankrupt. Nobody says that it's definitely not going to work, but he still sticks to his gun. He's a very futuristic person. That's why you see his deck that I make for him also a bit more futuristic, to tribute onto him and stuff like that. Okay, so what he says is something related to the lean startup, but he has this thing called the physics framework of thinking. It's called uh well, it's called I'll show you in the next slide. But we have to acknowledge that this guy actually disrupted the space sector, the biotech sector, the energy sector, and the transportation sector. In many ways, everyone could say that this isn't something that the market needs because you see, hear this carefully, pay attention. Nobody needs an electric car because they already have a car. But is that what the market wants? He believed in clean energy. He believed in the movement of, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
getting off the grid. Is that something that people want to associate with? See,
See,
it's not.
stepping into the insight that everybody wish to become a hero. So
Yes,
Solar City is your chance to become a hero.
yes, it's something that you can contribute back to the world. Some people
Yeah.
say that he wants to save the world and stuff, but well, he denied that. He just said that he don't want to think about the future and feel sad about it because the world is, honestly going to shit, and he don't want human to be, connected to just Earth. He wants to explore based on his curiosity because he read a lot of books about space, space exploration. So that's what he wants to do, and he got he made a business out of it. You see, so even though the market tells him this is not what they want, he still managed to succeed because he knows and he sticks to his guns that there is a part in the market that actually needs his product or service. Like SpaceX, I never would have thought NASA would actually approach him. I thought NASA would do it themselves. Most people would say that. Is say, no, if they are so many times bigger, if they can actually pay billions of dollars of contract to Elon, why would they want to pay him when they can do it themselves? Well, quite frankly, because Elon rocket is, it can fly up and come back. It's actually good for the environment instead of one-time disposal. So that's what he stands for, and it works. You don't need it, but you want it for the better of the world. Yeah. So what he's thinking method is this thing called the first principle theory. And again, here it means is always question yourself and you're taught to assume that you're wrong. Okay.
Mm.
You need to prove yourself you're not wrong. For someone like Elon Musk, right, he needs to assume that he's wrong all the time.
But then you
Because
see, the ego as human beings, being humans, even myself as a being entrepreneur, we hate being wrong because when we found out that we're wrong, it is normally equals to more work that is supposed to do. So it's just an instinct that we don't want to be wrong as well, and it's also an ego problem here. But I guess as what you correctly put here is that you want to choose either you want to be wrong or you want to succeed. You have to choose whether you want to succeed or whether you want to be whether you want to be right. Yeah, in that
yeah,
case.
but there are rooms. So there are rooms where you really also have to stick to your gun. Like for example, Elon who stick to his gun, and Steve Jobs actually said that the touchscreen is what people want. Nobody wants to use a stylus. Nobody gonna use plastic keyboards. Even though many entrepreneurs that were against him say that touchscreen will not work. So there is a room where you have to stick to your guns and you have to ignore what the naysayer says. But are you sure that you're right? You see, there are times where you need to be, you can say that there are times you have to stick to your gun, times you have to really be brutally honest to yourself. All right. So for somebody like Elon, definitely he have to be assume that he's wrong because he's working in technology like electric cars, as well as space travel. One wrong mistakes, that's it. There's probably no room for error. So he will assume himself wrong in every way until he proved himself data, statistics, test, measurement again that he's right and he's right and he's right. And then until he's perfectly right, there's still something that went wrong. Okay? It's the same way as how startup is. Everything goes wrong. Everything goes sideways everywhere. It's up to us as entrepreneur to really mitigate that by identify the problem early on and then make the necessary changes to succeed. This talk, I understand that it isn't all the glory or the sizzle reels about how someone made it successfully and stuff like that. Because the truth about on entrepreneurship at the end of the day is just a group of people that create a product service where it's not about glamour, it's not about any of that. It's about something that you want to provide to the world. You want to do something good for the world. That's what I believe. Most entrepreneurs are good. Maybe businessmen are not. Some people say businessmen are evil, like lawyers, because they are in it just for the money. They don't contribute to anything. I'm not saying anything against them, but I do agree that entrepreneurs, if they create a product or service, they really have come from the intention of making something better than what it was, or helping somebody achieve something or to solve somebody's problem. So you have to come
Mm.
to this problem where you got to provide the best service you possibly can, the best product you possibly can to serve everyone you possibly can. So you
When you
gotta
mention
make
also
sure.
best, also it comes down to the point where because best is always very very is open ended, ma, right? Some body's best is not another person's best. So I guess again, when AD mentioned best, you have to look at the things where which market you are looking at. You just need to be someone's favorite, not the best, yeah. Because best is very open ended, as I mentioned. You can be a best for a 40-year-old person, but may not be the best for a 30-year-old. So you replace best with favorite, then it gives you much more focus. Yes, that's all.
Right. So yeah, I'm not gonna go through the words there. You guys can read it from the slides. It's about assuming that you are wrong and you gotta prove yourself right. And that's what it means. You see, you gotta reason your way up from there. And I'm gonna tell you guys a bit disclaimer about why my presentation usually has graphics and why they has like, I used to tend to split the design of my presentation into certain section or certain shapes or certain ways or certain frameworks. It's because it's how I used to reason my way up. All right. I can write a bullshit essay for anybody, but I know that if I do a presentation and I condense it to the minimal word possible, I can't bullshit anyone because people will connect the dots from the presentation itself. They look at this framework, whether it works or it doesn't work. It's my way of how I make sense of the world around it that something actually makes sense, you see. It's my mental block of principle theory where I put first block, second block, third block, whether it makes sense. And then what's the foundation of it all? Then some of the sites you can see people created the framework like just now the lean start method. It seems very easy because they drew it like that, build, measure, and build, measure, and repeat stuff like that. It seems easy, but there's a lot of thought that actually go around crafting that framework, that thought, that how do you call that research or that business, right? Everything really needs to make sense before it really makes sense. You gotta peel all the layers behind to the fundamental truths of what it is that you're offering and then build it up from there. You cannot half and smokes by saying, "Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm also doing that. I'm also doing this. I'm also doing this." Yes, you can. You can be, but what is your core business first? Because if Facebook isn't a social networking site, no matter what you talk about, the wall, the live videos, even right now on Facebook, it will never reach to this point if the core product doesn't even work. So you gotta focus on the core and build it up from there. Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah, yeah, Alden, you have anything to add? Because
No, not really, because what
yeah,
you have said that is basically what the main, basically the basis of what lean startup is. You have to think about what is, you have to treat, as you have mentioned, treat everything like a science
experiment.
experiment. You have to test and see what works and keep testing and keep improving, keep testing and keep improving, and the work never gets done because as a startup, you are in a stage where you are looking at things which you are testing, you're actually in a testing phase. When you test and it 100% works the way you want it to work and the business is working exactly the way you want it, then you
Lucky.
transition into a business. And then once you transition into a business, you basically just replicate that because that's how business is. You scale up. But before you can even reach to the point where you can scale, you need to test. And that's where the most crucial thing is that being right is more important, or being able to find what's wrong in your business and tweak it or pivot if you need. So as you mentioned right now, in even COVID as well, most businesses think that okay, I'm just going to do open a restaurant, I'm not going to do anything else, and then they find out that oh no, they have to go into digital. So if those people who did not pivot or change their business operations, they may be left out. So it's very painful in that sense. But as for entrepreneurs itself, it's easier said than done. Is always test and see what works and continue. But also there's another question, another thing that I would like to give a special tip for you guys is not to test too many things at the same time. Because you're having too many things, it's hard for you to focus or anchor which are the small tweaks that you can do to actually make the big changes. this is I've seen it so many times before, entrepreneurs, businessmen alike, or even big companies trying to focus too many things at the same time, then nothing gets done. It's like you're asking someone to run, jump, and swim at the same time. Chances are you
True.
can't do at the same time. You can do each and every one of them, one at a time or one after another. But swim, jump, and run and swim all at the same time. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I said swim twice. Yeah, because you see, it's just so many things to comprehend if you're doing all activities at the same time. So really try one, change it, improve upon it, then change something else. That's the way to go.
Yeah, that's how scaling actually works, you see. No matter what, you gotta get your first version out. No matter Tesla or iPhone, you gotta get the first version out, find out what people wants, create the next version and the next and the next. Even though you know that further down the road, your version is gonna be way much more chunky than whatever you are already offering. So I guess that's the end of our presentation. Let us know what you thought about it and whether you agree or disagree. We went through about the number one thing entrepreneurs need to know. It's not about funding, it's about you yourself and accept that, if something doesn't work, you gotta pivot or persevere. At the same time, also I talk about the lean startup method where we actually have to constantly test so that you don't run out of money at the end of the day and your startup take the tank. And I gave tons of testimonials of companies that have succeeded as failed. And I even talk about the best testimonial of Elon Musk where they built multi-billion dollar companies. Come on, guys, if you build $1 billion company, you might say lucky, but if somebody built multi-billion dollar companies, damn, he must be onto something. Perhaps this first principle theory is something that all of us have to be really practice. The key thing is never really talk about analogy because analogy, like I mentioned about some of the startups, most people say that it won't work like Grab. It's an analogy, but at the same time, it's a real analogy because it happened before. But will it happen again? Well, you guys tell me. It's still doing strong, so I guess it's succeeding. Yeah. So let's wrap it up.